Okay, this is a video I really did not want to make, but I feel compelled for some reason to make it. So I'm responding to a YouTube user, Sequester Zone. I will actually refer to his YouTube name. And this is in reference to some comments I made on a video, and then he made another video where he references my comments. And for reasons that hopefully you will see, I felt compelled to make a response to it. And I'm doing this as quick and dirty as I can, and I apologize if it takes a while, but I have to I have to deal with certain things. So it's going to take a little while, and I'm doing it as quick as I can. So let's start with the original video that I commented on.
If there's one thing you can count on, it's Thunderfoot to get his facts wrong. And even though he couched it in the 21st century, all one has to do is go to Thunderfoot's favorite source, which is Wikipedia, and look at the list of terrorist attacks for each year in the 21st century. And they will see that the majority of them are not Muslim. Though there are quite a few Muslim terrorist attacks, which makes it a social problem that needs to be dealt with. But is the way that Thunderfoot's dealing with it a productive way? Is the way that someone like Sam Harris deals with it a productive way? Because I'm sure if you say to Thunderfoot, all Muslims obviously aren't terrorists, he'll give you the usual answer, well, of course not. And then give you an argument in which he makes Islam itself the main cause of terrorism. Sam Harris says, we are not at war with terrorism. We're at war with Islam. And then when you accuse him of talking about all Muslims, he doesn't know how you got that idea. When it would have been pretty easy to just say, we're at war with Islamic terrorists. Split the difference there, Sam.
So that was the comments from him in his video that compelled me to comment in the comment section of his video. And so my issue with that was it seemed like he was taking Sam Harris out of context, and this was the actual quote. The second sentence of what's highlighted here in this paragraph is what he's talking about, where he says we are at war. We are not at war with terrorism, and we are at war with Islam. That second sentence being the prime sentence he's talking about. So, yeah, he says that, but the very next sentence is, this is not to say that we are at war with all Muslims, but we are absolutely at war with the vision of life that is prescribed to all Muslims in the Quran. So, the problem is that he addresses the concern that you're talking about all Muslims right in the very next sentence. And I really think that should have been presented. But it wasn't. And I brought this forth in the comments, and I'm going to scroll through this, and if you want to read it, please do. I hope that you will if you're interested in this topic. So you won't find these comments on the video any longer because he blocked me. He blocked me for saying all these things. So I bring forth what I was just talking about, and then he defends himself by pointing out that what he said in the video, which was to say that he could have said something else. He could have said, we're talking about extremists, basically. And the problem is that that's not really dealing with what he's saying, and so I bring that up here. The point Harris was making is that we were battling specific ideas, not people. So the way you characterize what he was saying was wrong. And then he brings up the point about, well, this is the tactic they always use. We aren't talking about all Muslims, and again, he's conflating this, attack of ideas and attacking people with nothing really tying the two things together. Maybe you could do that, but it's not really happening with him. So he insults me several times, as you can read there. And the problem is that, so he does say that eventually, after I brought it up, he says that saying you are against certain ideas means identifying those ideas, not the culture those ideas exist in. Harris uses both the genetic fallacy and the fallacy of composition when talking about religion all the time. Well, I point out that if you had presented that, if you had, maybe this is a perfectly good line of reasoning. Maybe all of these are perfectly valid points in that quote right there. But the problem is that you didn't present what he said and then start talking about it. That you presented part of what he said and started talking about it as if he meant something else. And then said, well, you shouldn't have said all people, you should have just said some people. And that was essentially your argument against what he was saying, was that you shouldn't have said all people, you should have said some people. And so this is the final set of comments, and the last comments were not seen by anybody because he had already blocked me, as he says in his last comment to me. And I point out something that I'll get to later in the video in this set of comments about how he deals with people. So let's look at what actually makes this even worse. Is he goes to his Twitter and he posts this: I was accused of quote mining Sam Harris because, quote, he said wasn't saying all Muslims, only those who follow the teachings of the Quran. And it's just funny to me when people just make stuff up and then put quotes around it as if that was actually said to them when nothing of the sort was true. Obviously, I didn't say that. You can go back and read those comments and see if I said anything like that in the comments. No, I didn't say that he was only talking about those that follow the teachings of the Quran. I said that he was talking about the ideas of the Quran. There's a distinction there, see. So this, and the problem is that you can't, anybody that read that comment on his Twitter couldn't go look at his video and see what I actually said. They would only have that reference of his mischaracterization of what I was presenting, and have no way of verifying what was said, because of, this is just so dishonest. It's just such a dishonest tactic to misrepresent what I say and then not even give the opportunity to defend myself at all, because or even allow someone to see what was actually said. If you wanted to be honest, present my actual quote, and see if that's so scoffable. See if you can scoff at that so easily. Scoffable, I might have made up a word there. So, and then he follows up with this video.
I wanted to address some of the dumber comments I got in my recent video about Charlie Hebdo from stupid anti-theists. And I've said it before, I would rather deal with MRAs or race realists or anybody else than anti-theists. They're the most hateful, bigoted people I've ever encountered in my life.
So right off the bat, he's poisoning the well, and this is unfortunate. He's talking about these anti-theists. I'm not even sure what that means. I don't know if it refers to me or not, but apparently anti-theists are these bigots and these Islamophobes, and apparently because I simply disagreed with him on a single point in his video, apparently that lumps me in with these bigots. And you watch, he's about to do that. Watch, he just made this broad, general, sweeping statement, and I'm included in that statement.
And they don't have an excuse for how irrational and uneducated they are on the subject of religion. And I'm just kind of sick of it. Now, this individual who showed up and accused me of quote mining, he has made it his mission to defend Sam Harris on my videos before, and now he's blocked because I'm just sick of it.
Okay, so let's see. I have made 4 or 5 possibly comments, or in terms of subject matter, not threads, but in terms of bringing forth a comment. Probably made 4 or 5 comments on this person's videos, and let's see. One of those was a little bit of suggestion towards improving his audio. Another one was support. Maybe 1 or 2 were more like, hey, basically I agree with what you're saying, and presenting my point or my viewpoint. And the other 2 were criticizing how he was presenting what Sam Harris was saying. So apparently me making 2 comments about Sam Harris means that it's my mission to defend Sam Harris. I don't agree with everything Sam Harris says. I certainly don't agree with him on everything he says about Islam. I have many, many problems with what he says about Islam. I think he makes on the other hand, I think he makes very good points about this problem we have with Islamic terrorism. But there are also a lot of problems I have with what he says about that subject. I have problems with what he says about other things too. But I think he brings a lot of good points forward, and I appreciate a lot of things that he says. But I'm not defending everything he says. I'm not some Sam Harris defender of the Sam Harris faith, or however you're trying to characterize it. No, I just saw problems with what you were saying, and it probably has more to do with the fact that you just don't like Sam Harris. And so you're presenting stuff that maybe isn't treating him fairly. I think if you really, really thought about it and you really just looked at it objectively, you could maybe see that there might be a point to that. Anyway, so how reasonable is it to ban somebody for just pointing out some disagreements? I mean, I could understand maybe if I was just stalking you and presenting all these, terrible, insults and things of that nature, but I didn't do that. I just presented my viewpoints and tried to make arguments. I don't think that I was obnoxious about it. I just disagreed with what you were saying. And so it seems to me that you banned me for disagreeing with you. And yeah, I don't think that's reasonable. I get all kinds of negative comments on my videos all the time, and I've never banned anybody. I don't see how that's productive. More on that later.
Sick of being accused of being a liar or dishonest when this person is either dishonest or stupid. And
let's see how dishonest I am. Let's see how stupid I am in comparison to what you present. I think I've already made a pretty good case anyway. I don't even need to play any more of this.
Previously, he wanted to defend Sam Harris's moral landscape, and he did so by saying that Harris was not arguing that science was determining human values. He was arguing that on first principle you can establish a ethical theory that is supported by science, which is what his argument amounts to. I'll agree with that. That's what his argument basically amounts to, because Harris isn't very smart. But the subtitle of his book is How Science Can Determine Human Values. So to say that his thesis is not the subtitle of his book takes like a bravado and stupidity that is unmatched. Now, this individual, despite the fact that my Charlie Hebdo...
Okay, so I find it kind of funny that you actually agree with what I was saying about the subject matter of what, the substance of what Sam Harris was presenting. I find it kind of funny that you actually agree with what I'm saying. And yet, call me stupid because of the subtitle of his book. I don't know if you're aware of how the publishing industry works, but this happens all the time where the title of the book or the subtitle of the book does not really represent the subject matter in perfect detail of the book. And I could bring forth several examples of this I have right here, of books that where it's a bit oversimplified in the title. And this is a problem that a lot of authors have specifically pointed out, even in their exact books. So, yeah, saying that because the subtitle says something, that means that that's what's being presented. And we can forget about the subject matter, even though that I agree with what you're saying about the subject matter. I just think that's ridiculous. That is completely insane. Yeah, I'm sorry, that just makes no sense. If you agree that the subject matter is what it is, and it is what I presented that it was, then why do we have a problem?
Video, I say that Harris, when he says we're not at war with terror, we're at war with Islam, he could say other things, like say we're not at war with terror, we're at war with Islamic terrorists, we're at war with Islamic extremists, we're at war with Islamist fundamentalists. All three of...
Okay, so I mean, we've already touched on this, we've already dealt with this. He's trying to make it where he's presupposing that Sam Harris is talking about people, all Muslims. He's presupposing that, and then he's saying that, well, you could have said these Muslims, these particular Muslims, but you didn't say that. You said all Muslims, but that's not what he said. Okay, now you could argue that could argue that is the ramifications of saying that these ideas are the problem. You maybe could argue that, but you're not presenting that argument. You're just saying that, oh, he's talking about people, he should have said these certain people. That's pretty much what you're saying, I think. And I think it's pretty obvious, because every time it's tried to point out to you that it's not people, it's ideas, then you just keep saying it's people. And without presenting the argument that maybe in your mind you think that it leads to, the ramification is that it is about people, but you're not doing that. You're just saying that it is about all Muslims. So I don't know I don't know what else to say to make it any more clear. It's just a completely, unconnected idea that you're presenting.
Those statements would be okay statements in my book, even though those three...
Again, I want to make this clear. That response to what Harris is saying, in the context, if you present that whole thing where he's saying this is about these terrible ideas, that response doesn't make any sense. You're just saying that, well, don't say that. Don't say the ideas. Say these certain people. Do you see? Okay, hopefully you do. I don't know.
Things do not mean the same thing, but I would find all three of them acceptable. However, he doesn't say that. He says we're at war with Islam. Now, this individual accused me of quote mining him by saying that this is what followed Harris's statement. This is not to say that we're at war with all Muslims, but we are absolutely at war with the vision of life that is prescribed to all Muslims in the Quran. So what this person is saying is that we're not at war with all Muslims, just all the Muslims that believe in the Quran or follow the Quran.
Well, see, I just find it really striking that you would read it right there, out loud and then form that conclusion. No, that was not what was being said. That was not what was being said at all. Again, if just you're it seems to me maybe that you are looking at what is being said about these ideas and then just making the argument without making the argument that this leads to the idea that this, refers to all of these people, and has ramifications towards these people. Well, that's you gotta do a little more work. You can't just keep saying that that's what we're saying when we're saying no, that's not what we're saying. Or in this case, I'm saying that that's not what Sam Harris is presenting. So yeah, you got to do a little more work there. And it just strikes me that you read it out loud and then you completely mischaracterized it in the second sentence with nothing in between. That just fascinates me.
Or believe the Quran is the word of God, which is all Muslims. This is a trick that Islamophobes use.
Yeah, and Sam Harris is an Islamophobe, and it's a trick. It's a trick because really in his mind he's going, yeah, I just hate Muslims so much. Oh man, what can I do to... Oh, I know what. I'll just say it's about the ideas. Yeah, and then I can get away with it. And then I can just defend myself because I'll just say, well, it's just about ideas when I really, really hate all Muslims and I just hope they all die. Yeah, that's what's going on. It's a trick. It's not that he really actually thinks that these ideas are bad and that we need to attack these ideas and criticize these ideas and defeat these ideas. And we need to get the moderate Muslims to understand that these ideas are very bad and to speak out against them. That's what he's saying. Good Lord.
And it's based on defining Islam in opposition to Christianity sometimes. For instance, Thunderfoot in the D-Land and Cole...
Okay, well now he'll start to just go off on something separate, and he's left where we were suddenly. So I'm not going to deal with any more that he has to say on that video. It doesn't have anything to do with me or anything I said. And I just want to say that I find this all very sad and very unfortunate. I actually like a lot of stuff that Sequester Zone presents. I like a lot of his ideas, and I've found a lot of congruence with this guy. I've found probably more congruence than not congruence. I see a lot of problems with what he says, but probably, I agree with him more than I disagree generally on his channel. Unfortunately, he has an issue with being criticized. He just doesn't take it very well, and that's why he banned me. And that's unfortunate. Maybe I can understand that, people get agitated by being criticized on their YouTube channels and stuff like that, and they tend to create this sort of, oh well, this is just this troll character that keeps commenting on my videos and this, and then they sort of start to put all these people together in one barrel, and then, well, I don't need those people and they can just go away. I guess is how that works. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. It doesn't really, that line of thinking doesn't really work. And for me, I don't really look at it that way. But I can understand it. I think I can understand getting agitated with it. But anyway, I also find it ironic that, he's sort of basically saying that we need to understand more nuance to arguments, and this is sort of generally on his channel. We need to understand these nuances to these arguments, and we need to try to reach out to people and build bridges and not try to be unproductive and do all these unproductive things like Sam Harris and Thunderfoot are doing and all that sort of thing. but his behavior and his attitude are not really representing that viewpoint very well, because he's banning people for just disagreeing with him on a point or two. And that's not really, and not only that, but just he has this tendency to immediately just refer to people as being stupid that disagree with him. Well, you're just stupid. You're too stupid to understand. No, some of them maybe are. Okay, honestly, but some of us that disagree with you, Sequester Zone, are actually not really stupid. We have a valid viewpoint, and maybe we are generally not the most intelligent people in the world, but that has nothing to do with the argument that's being presented and the criticism that's being presented. And so, anyway, this has gone on long enough, and I appreciate anyone that's still listening to this, because it has gone on too long, and I apologize for that, but I just couldn't get it out fast enough. But thanks.